We finna fire it up. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the October 3rd Board of Supervisors meeting. At this time, I'd like Mr. Slade to give us an invocation.
Gladly. Let's pray. Lord God, thank you for these men, the sacrifice that they made to serve this community. Thank you for the skills and the abilities that you've given to them. We ask for an extra measure of wisdom to be poured out upon them today as they conduct the business of the county. Thank you for a county that we call home and love and is so abundantly blessed. We know that that comes from you. And Father, I thank you that you give us the privilege to serve our community and serve our fellow man. Help us to do that in a way that pleases you, Lord, in a way that recognizes all of the needs of our county. And Father, I pray that as we think about the safety and the security that we enjoy here, we also remember the price that is paid for that safety and security, the men and women who sacrifice every day for our safety. We ask that you protect them, even in this moment, Lord, when they are responding to emergencies that the public doesn't even know are happening. Father, I pray for them and their safety in Christ's name. Amen.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slade. We got a few people that signed up for public comment. Mark Moody. Would you like to? Okay. Dr. Hardy?
Yes.
All right. Just state your name and give us your address.
My name is Dr. Kenneth Hardy. I'm a board-certified physician and a professor of medicine at the University of Medical Center. My address is 124 Campbell Cove, and I've owned an 8-acre property out there for about 25 years now.
All right.
I was here roughly 1 year ago for the rezoning meeting when the housing project right there on Old Lake Road was being rezoned residential, along with Mr. Bobby Vick. In fact, I have the minutes of that meeting with me, so that's all recorded, along with the late Bobby Vickers. Bobby owned the eastern half of Campbell Lake, and I own the southern half. That property is now owned by Mr. Moody, who's going to speak momentarily. And we appreciate the opportunity to come before you guys today. At that meeting a year ago, two things were really pretty much made clear from our standpoint, that we were very supportive of the idea of this housing project, but we were very concerned about the impact on Campbell Lake, which has been there for a long time. Mr. Vickers invested a lot of money in stocking it. It's been ecologically assessed. It's a home to several eagles, beaver, trophy bass, and it's been managed by Mr. Vickers and myself. And that lake had been damaged earlier by some clear cutting that drained into our lake. It took about 2 years for our lake to recover. So at the zoning meeting, our position was we were very supportive of that zoning, provided that we were not going to have another episode of terrific, devastating damage to our lake, which fronts two beautiful properties. One horse is on in my property, which is really quite beautiful residential estate. We were assured by Mr. May, who was involved in that project, and the council, that all steps would be taken to preserve the ecology of our lake and to prevent another devastating silting in of our lake. And that just hasn't happened. In the last year, we've had runoff from Mr. May's development that has silted up our lake to the point where it's quite amazing. And drainage has become a problem, and impact on our fish has been a problem. And then because of the silting in, it clogged up the culvert, which drains the lake, so that every time we would get rain, the lake would get so deep it would come up onto our properties. And the Rankin County, I think, wisely assessed that because of its impact on the road right there on Old Lake Road. And without really contacting me at all as one of the private owners of that land, including the street that the road is on, a crew came out and started trying to replace the culvert. apparently, and Mr. Moody can fill you in because Mr. Calhoun spoke with him, but not with me. Apparently, a decision was made by someone that the whole road had to be repaired. Subsequent to that, the Rankin County has torn up the road, but before they could tear up the road, and again, completely independent of any insight or contact with me as a person that owns half that land, they drained our lake. And it just stocked with fish. It's completely barren now. So our lake is now dry while Rankin County continues to work on the street. And I sent some pictures on Friday to Miss Cameron's office. In fact, I wish I'd have known we had access. I had the pictures in my iPad here showing before and after, which was a lovely stocked lake. Now it's a barren, silted-in piece of land. So we're sort of in a quandary. We were promised, that we would not have this scenario, and the scenario has not only happened, but it has a secondary impact, which is that we're now without a lake and without our fish and without a spot for our eagles and our families and our activities. And so we're sort of seeking relief. I mean, we were looking to see what can be done to sort of repair the damage. And Mr. Moody can address that a little bit more. He has been he has purchased the entire eastern section of that lake once Mr. Vickers passed away. So he and I are the sole owners of that property, right, including and up to the middle of the road that's being repaired now. And he was contacted by Mr. Calhoun, and he'll relay that information. But apparently the initial insight was they were going to do a minor culvert repair, which he was assured there was going to be no damage to our lake. But now, subsequent to that, the entire lake has been drained, and he had been told that the new culvert was going to be higher than the old culvert, so that the level of the lake was going to be going up. Maybe as much as a foot or 2 feet, which would put it in our yards. So, we're very concerned that, and completely independent of our permission or really full insight, Rankin County sort of made a decision downstream of this housing development, which assured us of certain concessions that haven't occurred. And as private landowners and people have managed happily this beautiful neighborhood for over 2 decades. We're now in a situation where we're looking at a devastated ecological system, and Mr. Moody will give some more insights because he's actually very involved as a tribal chief, and that land is actually used for tribal purposes every year, and that's also being impacted. So we're just trying to figure out what our rights are and what Rankin County can do to sort of straighten the situation.
Well, I'm going to try to answer at least a couple of your questions.
Thank you.
The culvert that runs under the county public road was blocked with concrete. Somebody's went in and stacked concrete blocks in there to hold the water, back the water up, make y'all's water higher in the lake. County did not do that. Either y'all done it or somebody else done it, but the county does not do that.
Oh, okay.
And the culvert was there. It's probably a 40-year-old culvert.
Yeah.
You had 4 leaks in the dam from one end to the other.
Yeah, no, I understand. And we appreciate
when the lake was built, they took topsoil and built this dam up there.
Sure.
It wasn't built to state standards and county standards. Now, we went out there, walked a traco out there on that dam, and when we got out there to dig the cover up, the whole road sunk down. So the only disaster I think the county has prevented is a school bus going across it with a load of kids, killing them.
No,
and we trying to do what we can for our county road.
No, we had no problem with that. I mean, we're delighted and we're thrilled, and we're very happy. I guess our concern is we weren't even warned about this. I mean, no one said a word to me, and
I apologize for not reaching out to you. I reached out to Mr. Moody because he acted like he owned the whole thing out there. I'm sorry that I didn't reach out to you
That's
and give
okay.
you a heads up on what was going, but this all happened like on a Friday. And, I mean, we have put in 700 loads of dirt in the
No,
last
no,
week, and the
it's-
road is gonna be something that y'all should be proud of. It's gonna be a lot better
Right.
dam
No,
that's out
absolutely.
there.
And in fact,
Fish can be replaced, human life can't.
right, no, and in fact, my front pasture, which I actually filled in with 40 truckloads of dirt 20 years ago when I bought the property, my front pasture is now the parking spot to Rankin County's heavy equipment.
Well, and we'll get that back right.
I know,
for you.
and I
mean,
approved that. I gave them permission, and because, you know, we were appreciative for what you guys are doing. I guess I didn't expect to come home and see my lake completely
Well,
drained.
that was the last thing on my agenda to do last week, is to go in and tear that dam out and have to
Well, you did.
replace it.
That
Yes,
was the last on your agenda, you
Yeah.
took care of it.
yeah, and we got it done for y'all. And,
Well, let me let Mr. Moody speak, because
Absolutely. And
his big concern is that the ecology is disrupted
Well-
badly, and that to repair that's gonna be expensive.
I'm gonna let both of y'all know, DEQ has been involved with Scott May's development over there. Scott May has done what DEQ has requested. He's been, when he wasn't in compliance, he had to get in compliance. They shut him down for about 30 days until he got in compliance. As far as we know, DEQ, and when we go out and inspect the homes out there, as long as those silk fences are up, but DEQ, I think, lives on that road, and they go by that place every day.
Well, I'd like to speak with DEQ, because I think they're overlooking our lake, and now's the perfect time for them to look at it, because it's completely silted in. I mean, you can see.
The lake would be like 6 foot deep all the way across on the dam end.
That's
And
not
it didn't.
completely correct.
Okay.
I mean, I've been out on that lake, and this gentleman fishes that lake. We have had cars that have driven into that lake that needed to be dredged out. That lake was about 20 foot
This would be a
deep.
good time to get out there with a trackhoe and dig it out on both sides, if y'all, that's what y'all willing to do.
Well, I would think that's what Rankin County would want to do.
Okay, all right. Mr. Moody, you'd like to come forward? Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Just state your name and your address.
I'm Mark Moody. I live at 1566 Old Lake Road. I also own 1580 and 1578 Old Lake Road, which was the property of Bobby Vickers before
Yes.
he died. I'm a retired infantry officer and a wounded Iraq War veteran. This flag right here was on my shoulder in the Middle East. All right.
We appreciate your
So,
service.
I'm gonna be quick because I see where this is going. All right, I've got a report from Wildlife and Fisheries from 2016 on what was in that lake and kind of the trend that they were seeing with the fish in the lake. I understand what you say, that it's only fish, okay, and I understand lives, but there's things that could have been done to mitigate draining all the water out and the fish apparently with it, because I know what was in there. There's plenty of videos of what was in that lake and caught in that lake on a regular basis, and quite often released in that lake. And we have 4 bald eagles that were fishing that lake. They're probably going to leave. So all my position is just like Dr. Hardy is, you know, I see what seems like a lot of help with developers with a lot of money getting things done for them, and I'm wondering, what about us? Okay, there's things that could have been done, coffer dams, whatever, to mitigate losing all that water. I knew you were going to drain it. I didn't know you were going to drain it that low, and I'll also even ask, you know, please be mindful of the fish, that we don't lose the fish. Okay, there's hardly anything left in there. So, you know, all I'm saying is between the development and this, we've lost a lot. And, you know, I'm sure there could be some kind of way to work out something to help us be right with what we've lost. You know, that was hard for me to get that piece of property over there. And I got it because I already knew what was there. I already lived next door to it and owned a back portion of the lake. So, you know, I'm not going to drag this out. You know where I stand. I just want to let you know, and if anybody wants this report from the Wildlife and Fisheries.
You can give it to Dwayne
Right here?
over there. appreciate y'all coming in, letting us know. Mr. Slade, would you wanna add anything, or are you good?
I don't think there's anything to add. I don't have enough information at my disposal at this point to even have an assessment of where we are.
Okay.
So I would have to really dig into this a little bit more to find out what are the rights and the responsibilities, if any.
Okay, all right.
And I did provide a portfolio of pictures to Ms. Cameron.
She's got them, she showed them to me, and I was out there all last week, so I'm very familiar with what's going on. All right, let's move, any other, that's only two I got on public comments at this moment. Do I have a motion on old business?
Second.
Motion made, second by Mr. Gaines. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Consent agenda.
Mr. President, if I could ask, under item 1, which is consent agenda approval of agreements and leases, if we could move items C and D under subsection 1 to my section of the regular agenda, we can take that up in the regular agenda, and that way you guys are voting on the consent without those 2 items.
We need to make a motion to move it off.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I make that motion to move 1, C, and D to the regular agenda, and then we go back
Yes.
and
Steve, I
address
think you can,
consent.
your motion can be to approve the consent
All right,
without item 1C and 1D on it, and
Yeah.
we'll take 1C and 1D up on
Thank
the
you.
regular agenda.
All right, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried. All right, Ms. Caroline Gilbert, please step forward. Good morning.
Alright, I gotta give y'all these, 'cause y'all have others.
Yeah, you keeping us in suspense over here.
thank you.
It's just the way the calendar fell. To be announced sounds exciting. right? Okay, this is our year-end reporting, required by statute. Our real property sold to state was $900,465.39. Mobile homes, for delinquent taxpayers, the county portion is $45,843.20. Personal property delinquent county portion, $399,538.27. Checks returned for insufficient funds, $12,431.88, and Samantha has the listing of surrendered tags that has been submitted.
All right, so do I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion,
To
Mr.
approve.
Gaines,
Second.
second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
It wasn't as exciting as you
No.
thought.
All right. Mr. Lance,
Good morning, gentlemen.
good morning.
Good morning.
Got a lot on here, so,
Yeah, you do.
well, we'll lump some of the end ones together and get some of this first stuff out of the way. All right, item A is petition to change the assessment for the 2020 real property assessment rolls.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
All right, item B, the petition to adjust the 2022 homestead exemption supplemental roll.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
All right, item C is approval for the final resolution of ad valorem exemptions for the 2022 tax year, which includes the Goodwill Industries and Pearl, Ever Reaching Community Outreach, and Pelahatchie, Mississippi Lottery Flowwood, PIEM LLC Sheraton in Flowwood, Southwest Airlines in Flowwood, and Westco Distribution in Richland.
Motion to approve.
All right, second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
All right, item D, authority to accept the quote from Delta to basically install 3 computers in the for the professional services and sales ratio forms in the amount of $3,600.
All right, motion approved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
All right, item E is a request to void the 2020 tax sale for parcel F10F-4 due to an erroneous assessment and refund the tax purchaser.
Motion approved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
All right, F through H is basically registration fees for IAAO workshops.
All right, I'll make a motion. I think it's GH.
Yep.
All right, I make a motion to approve.
All right, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
And I know Thursday y'all did the approval on the data for MDEQ. I just wanted to make sure nobody had any questions about that item, because I wasn't here. I was tied up.
We approved that.
Okay.
And so the arrangement, guys, is that we're gonna share the data. DEQ's gonna provide us back mapping data. I believe
Aerial
it's aerial
photography, starting next year.
Yeah, which is a good deal for us.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, basically, we're just gonna give them our parcel data, which, you know, for what we're getting back from it, they're going to release it and put it in their warehouse, in their statewide warehouse. So we'll be releasing the data to them, which, you know, it will go wherever, because it'll be a free download from there for DEQ. But in turn, we are getting aerial photography that has historically cost us in the range of 50 grand every time we had it
So
shot.
you're saying we won't have to get it shot in the future?
No. They will shoot every 3 years. According to DEQ, they will start in central Mississippi and central next year, which will be us. And then they'll move south, then north, and then in 3 more years, they'll come back to us. So every 3 years, we will get a new shot of aerial photography instead of 5. We're only required every 10 years because of our parcel count, but now we'll be getting it every 3 years.
Good deal. That's
So-
a good deal for us.
Yeah, it's a good deal for us.
In the past, we've had to join other counties in a
Consortium,
combined
yeah.
effort to get the aerial photography flown, and it's kind of been hodgepodge.
Right. Well, we started this in '08 when it cost us $200,000 to get the aerial photography flown with Madison County. Since then, with the consortiums, we've lowered that price with people going in like MDOT and DEQ, and they were kicking in some money and typically cost us around 50 grand to get the aerial photography. Well, now we'll be getting it for free, just for giving them our parcel data. So I think it's a good deal for us.
Good, thank you.
All right,
Yes, sir.
appreciate you. All right, Mr. Mike Harrison, please step forward.
Got road work scheduled and accomplished for the month.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Mike.
all right, I got one other thing we're gonna need to add. We're, starting some asphalt work. We finished our chip seal work up, and we're starting asphalt work pretty heavy. Talked to several different contractors in our area to get asphalt, and they're having trouble getting material to supply us, so we're gonna have to get from multiple plants to be able to produce what we need to put out in the next month. And, I think I'm gonna let Craig talk
Yeah.
on it just a little bit.
Yes,
We'll talk
so, so where we find ourselves is this: we've had a commodity bid in the past for these products. We have, in the past, we've had pretty stable supply of our asphalt needs. But what we're finding now is that the actual asphalt suppliers are having a hard time getting the raw material to create the asphalt. And so Mike and I were talking about this on Friday. We've been hearing that there are barges with material that can't get into port. Because of that supply chain issue, which is clearly not something that anybody that we're talking about here has control over, what we're finding is that the suppliers themselves they're having to use milled product for the most part in order to get the raw materials that they need to deliver fresh asphalt. And when you don't have milled product available to them, they get pretty chintzy about who they share their asphalt with. And so that's what we're running into. That gives you the background story. So how do we fix it? Well, it's the best I can figure. We are on a hunt for asphalt wherever we can find it. The issue for us, obviously, is that we have a commodity bid that is not being honored, and so we can't use our normal commodity bid supply. The state, through MDOT, has gone into a state contract position, and so we do have some suppliers that can provide asphalt on state contract, and we're eligible to get that where we can find them. But what Mike's run into now is that the guys on state contract are telling Mike, I don't have the asphalt. I can't give you 400 tons. And so we've got to go find it where we can find it. So how do we do that? Well, I'm suggesting that we declare a local emergency that is related to the inability of us to find supply where we know we can get it under state contract. And that means that frees us up to go get it wherever we can find it. It would be a short-term request. I am suggesting in my document here that I'll share with the board momentarily, I'm suggesting that we declare the local emergency as it relates to asphalt supply to begin today, October 3, at 9 a.m., and it will remain in place until the board says it's not in place. Y'all control the time. Y'all can say we're not in an emergency anymore, cut it off and go back to normal. That's number one. Number two, the adoption of your commodity bid award. We're working on getting you another commodity bid in place, and we think we may have that in place by December. And so you can control when you end the emergency. If we get a commodity bid award in place, it will go into effect and you won't need the emergency deck anymore. Or December 31, we got to put a cap on it. We got to put a time frame on it. So the longest this emergency would be in place would be the end of the year. Okay? That would be my proposal. That we do that. I've got the language that I will provide to Jared, and so it can be in the minutes. But that's what your emergency would be.
Okay. I think we've used 9 months preparing to overlay a lot of roads. We've changed out the culverts, we've done a lot of pre-leveling, we've got our ditches. We're down to it's time to play ball.
Yep.
But we don't have a ball. And we only have maybe 8 weeks at the most of this dry weather. I think we are in emergency, and I'd like to make the motion that you just described to get the asphalt here and get it on the roads before what we've spent and all the resources we've put into getting them to this point are deteriorated.
Yes, sir. And I mean, we're gonna communicate with the plants daily. I mean, I've talked to them again Friday. I mean, some of them it depends on what day's going on, what they can give us, you know, what their workload is versus.
I understand that there's.
And we're gonna get it from where, you know, different plants.
So you saying if you gave AdCamp a week's notice, that they couldn't get you the asphalt you need?
That's what they told me Friday. They said 300 tons a day would be the best they could do. That was our conversation.
Do you need?
Well, I mean, I'm doing probably 200 a day myself, Jay, and then I've got a contractor, my in-place contractor's on the ground right now, fixing to do work. He's gonna be doing 500 to 600 a day. So we're gonna have to pull out of multiple plants just to be able to keep going.
Well, let's try to get up all we can from those that we normally work with at a reasonable price. And then if they can't.
What's the price
this allows you
per
to
ton
shop
now?
other places.
$84 a ton.
Is that state contract price, Mike? So what we're doing, and this.
Now, I got another plant that'll furnish all we want, but they're like $93 a ton.
Yeah.
I don't really want to stay, nothing against them, I just really rather buy the lower price asphalt if I
What
can.
we're doing is we're requesting that these other suppliers at least honor the state contract. That's what we're trying to do. And they're not required to, by virtue of this declaration that we're making. But my hope would be that, with an eye toward the future, they may favor us with the state contract price.
I thought we were gonna bid out these jobs.
Not these
Not these
particular
particular
jobs.
ones. These are ones that's already scheduled that was supposed to be
This is
done.
some stuff that we kinda cleaned up, Jay, from the micro walking out on us and some stuff like that.
I mean, if you did bids,
So
I don't
in the
know if you,
micro, do they have any outstanding POs?
Did, but we canceled them.
So we withdrew the ones that they, what, at their request?
At their request and our request.
So
Our year ended the other day, so we withdrew the PO so that it didn't carry over. They're not coming back to us this year.
all right.
So there's no need in holding a PO for, they can't lay micro back until April of next year. There's no need, I mean, I can reissue a PO for next March or April for the same micro work.
So what are you intending to do now, going forward?
With roads on this paving,
Yeah,
well, I mean, we're trying to do Andrew Chapel out there, the aprons. We've got some little roads that we just got to pave. It's gonna fall apart between now and then. I mean, we're gonna be doing some of it ourselves, and we're gonna be doing some of it with the contractor.
do you have a list of roads that you wanna get done, or you just,
No, I pretty well got a list, yes, sir. Nick,
it'd be nice to see it.
okay. Well, I don't have it on me.
Out.
I think we listed the roads the other day in
yeah,
the
I think it
email.
was on the email, there's a list of them. I
Yeah,
think
but
Holly
wasn't but
Bush
four-
and,
Four places,
huh?
that wasn't but 4 places.
More than that.
Well, the list that I sent you guys, just kind of as a prep for what we'd be talking about, those were roads that we knew we were going to asphalt. That, it wasn't inclusive of everything that is eligible on Mike's road plan. Those were the most pressing.
All right, so your motion to,
It would be to add and approve, Steve, and am I okay to say
Yes.
that, to add
Yes.
and to approve it? Okay?
Yes.
And it will be an emergency declaration as it relates to inadequate asphalt supply, Jared.
all right, and I'll second that. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank y'all.
All right, Mr. Slay.
I'm up, okay. First item under my section, gentlemen, is a public hearing
On the Donnell and Sandra Warren rezoning request at 4428 Highway 49 South, this is District 3. Donnell and Sandra Warren are seeking to rezone 8 acres, that is in a 21-acre parcel from C3, the 8 acres from C3 to A1. The front portion of the parcel is zoned C3, the remaining 13 acres is zoned A1. Property has been an existing house and, with 2 older commercial buildings. They've renovated the home and they've placed the property on the market for sale. Prospective buyers are unable to obtain mortgage financing because the house is located within the 8-acre piece that is currently zoned C3. And so they are planning to demolish the 2 commercial buildings that are also on the property. At this time, we'll open that public hearing, and I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Donnell and Sandra Warren rezoning request, 4428 Highway 49 South, District 3. Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. We'll close our public hearing. At this time, it would be appropriate to take action.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carried.
Next item under my section of the agenda, Mr. President, is a discussion of and potential action regarding the Vivian and Fred Moore nuisance property. This is at 576 Holyfield Circle. This is a District 3 property. This matter has been before the board previously on nuisance consideration. In fact, the board at one time has declared this property to be a public nuisance. What we've discovered is that the Moores have relocated. We believe that they are somewhere up in the Delta. And so
This has been going on for like 10 years. And I mean, they've been to court. I think they even did some time in jail over this property, and it still hasn't been cleaned up.
So Renee will demonstrate with the photos for us.
These were pictures that were taken in July of this year.
that a public road? Is that their
No,
driveway?
there's a story behind this. There are people that live on that private drive on the backside that they had to go get a court order to
Oh,
be
I
able to
remember
access their
this.
property. And they wouldn't, they kept the road blocked right there, and legally they couldn't block it. So Judge Odom had an order put in place that it had to stay at least a 30-foot easement through there. And I think the Moores have moved to, I think, Greenville. They didn't get served. We sent it to justice court last month, and they didn't get served because we don't serve outside the county. And I mean, this property, I mean, I'd love to see, the people out there would love to see it cleaned up, and that the county put a lien against the property and hire somebody to go in and clean it up. I think the son that's been a member of our sheriff's department jail facility a pretty good bit also, so he's been in and out of jail.
It's not Ronnie. Ronnie's in and out of jail, but I think he's on the right side of that deal.
I think one son is kind of squatting there at the house now. I mean, I'm open to suggestions, but I mean, treating it as a nuisance, send it to justice court, is not something that's gonna get done.
Yeah, Mr. President, just for the record, I wanted to announce that we are in a public hearing, and so I'm asking if Mr. or Ms. Moore or anyone on their behalf is present. Anyone? Ms. Word, you want to step forward and pretend to be a lawyer for a little while? You good? Okay. No, I don't need you. Thank you. Mr. President, let the record reflect that no one's here on behalf of the Moores or the Moores themselves with respect to this matter. So generally speaking, in a nuisance situation like this, you've got really a couple of options that are available to you under the state law and also under our property maintenance codes. They're both designed to be misdemeanor offenses where it's proven that there is a nuisance. And so typically we have a court that is involved. When you declare a nuisance under state law, that is undertaken by the justice court. So we make a referral to the justice court, and the matter is heard in court there, and the property owners are given an opportunity to appear, to give testimony, and the court then makes a decision about the nuisance itself. That is, whether or not they are in violation of state law. We believe that this is clearly a violation of state law. You also have the option under your property maintenance code whereby they can be jailed, whereby they can be fined on a daily basis. And so there are a number of protections also under your property maintenance code in addition to state law. And so typically when we make the referral, we'll do both the state law referral and the property maintenance referral. Your other option that you have is to declare it a nuisance and then authorize the county with its own forces to clean the property and then to assign a lien. Typically, we will do that in situations where there is sufficient property to justify the use of the lien procedure, the self-help cleanup by the county and then the lien procedure, because there's a good chance that we can recover the funds through the tax sale or through the payment of taxes in the normal course by the property owner to retain the property. So your lien would go through the tax sale as the normal course. So that would be next August. We would, if they don't pay the tax bill, which would include your lien amount for the cleanup, if they don't pay it, it goes in the tax sale and then it's subject to recovery that way.
What you think?
In those circumstances, it's different avenues, are we still required to have them served?
On the self-help cleanup, Steve, due process has already happened.
Okay.
They were notified to be present at a public hearing where their property was reviewed. In fact, that's happened multiple times in this case. So they've had all of the due process that they are entitled to. Okay? So the answer is no, you can declare it a nuisance because we're in a public hearing. They've been notified to be present. We're in a public hearing. And they've chosen not to appear and to speak, declare it a nuisance, establish the lien procedure, request that Renee secure from a third party, and subject to y'all's satisfaction, an estimated cost to remediate, to clean it up. And then after that happens, I will affix a lien against the property, and it will go through the tax collection process.
I mean, I've never been involved in one that the county went this far. Things like, but there's some things on here that look valuable. And you sure don't want to push that over with the dozer or take it. I mean, how do you handle things of value without, I mean, when it's like that,
Yes,
you
sir.
just have to work around it, or?
Well, actually, my strong suggestion would be that we talk to this third party about physically placing the property, give these people one additional opportunity to come remove any personal property that they wanna keep.
That's good.
Right? The third party that we use, I would just ask them, this is not required, by the way, this is just the way I would do it as a matter of
Yeah.
courtesy. This, how I would feel good about the process would be to notify them, we are effecting cleanup.
Yep.
All of the personal property will be removed and disposed of to defray the cost. Then I would wanna give them an opportunity to come get it. Whatever they don't come get by a deadline, we will assume has now
abandoned.
become a part of the deal. And I would make that property available to the third party and request that the cost estimate be reflective of the value of the property that he's about to walk off with.
Now, on the previous occasions, he's even went as far as putting the property in somebody else's name to not have to go to court over. And now it's been transferred back to him. So, I mean, this has been ongoing, so.
Well, how much are you wanting to do here? Can you turn back to the other view, please? That one, no, where's the road?
That look like-
How
The
those
picture,
work?
that's Holyfield Circle right there that's looking down that,
So that's where those
driveway.
people have to access right there?
mm-hmm.
This is a private road that
Yeah,
goes
that's,
off.
yeah.
I'll
So
agree with
you
that.
talking about taking all those vehicles?
Yes.
Scrapping them.
We can do that.
After I notify them that we're going to do it.
Now, they might come and clean it up themselves, but I doubt it. They hadn't done it.
So what else are you wanting to do out there though, other than remove the,
I want the folks out there to be satisfied that the county's done everything we possibly can do on cleaning this up and getting something done after 10 years of living around that. I mean, there's people's property that joins that property that's, the value has went down on their properties. And this property's been for sale, that joins that didn't go through just because of this issue.
I don't wanna do if we can't recover our money.
I understand.
That's it.
But
How
I
much
mean,
acreage is there? 3.4 acres.
And there's a house.
There is a house. It's back there.
It's up under some of that stuff.
Very bad.
Such as it is.
I mean, there's enough of scrap iron there that'd probably pay for the cleanup.
Can we get a quote first?
Yeah, we can get Renee can work with third parties and we can find, we've struggled in the past to get third parties who are willing to do it. The last time we had something anywhere approaching this, and it wasn't nearly this amount of debris, my recollection, Renee, this was Jared's district, if I recall correctly. The quote we got was 10 grand. And it was to remove a trailer, if I recall correctly.
Mobile home, yeah.
Grants Ferry it was a trailer, and not this level of additional personal property or debris. So,
Well, I know he's wanting to do that one over on South Pearson that had a lot of debris and we haven't gone along with it. So, I imagine we do this, he'll be,
Well,
I'm just saying,
I
I'm
would
not the
be
county, but
move or target the area that's causing the nuisance or what you can see, and I don't mean with some binoculars, I mean something within a certain distance
Right.
of the private drive or county road. I don't know how many, but 200 foot or
this
maybe
one's
not clean up
interesting.
the whole place.
Yeah, in that by virtue of your nuisance ordinance, the declaration that you would make, Steve, should y'all choose to make it, you have legal authority to enter upon, even through a third party, to enter upon the private property to remediate the nuisance. That, you guys can do that under your police power authority, okay? So typically, we would say, we're not gonna go on to private property and conduct county work, but this is a police power, a public safety declaration that you guys would be making, that this is not safe, and this is a public nuisance, and that's gonna give us the authority then to go in and do the work that is required to do here.
Whatever Jay and Brad want,
I mean, I want us to be on the same page.
I'm
I mean,
good with.
We're gonna
I
all have to
understand
deal with things
not
like
spending more
this.
than we can get back.
Yeah.
But also, can't imagine my property being next to this
Right.
and driving by it.
I would think, like I said, that if we can get all that stuff, somebody will probably come clean it up for free for us,
Yeah, I mean,
if we can get all
Here.
that.
So what are we dealing with here? What we're dealing with is a 10-year saga, we think, where what's been established is that these individuals are willing to do whatever they have to do to monkey with or short-circuit our process. They have willfully disobeyed and been resistant to any effort to try to get this situation cleared up. They're willing to take steps like transferring ownership of the property to avoid having to account for it. So I think at this point, we've kind of been forced to the only option left to us, which is we'll just go clean it up ourselves and assign a lien.
are y'all good with that?
I am with us taking the steps that Craig said, notifying them that this is your last opportunity and this is what we're fixing or about to do.
I'd like to get a price before
And
we
get a
go.
price, okay.
That's fine. So,
Alright.
what, the motion needs to be what?
Well, yeah, I don't even need a
Okay.
motion. We're just gonna instruct community development to come back
See.
with an estimated cost. Please try to have us an estimated cost by the 14th,
Yeah.
so we can deal with this on the 14th.
Listen, I'd rather not, I'm not gonna be able to be here on the 14th, so, I mean, unless there's questions that need to be asked.
I think we can refer back to this discussion this
Okay.
morning, Brad, and get the other two guys caught up to speed on where we are. I'm gonna go ahead and place these individuals who are allegedly the owners, I'm gonna place them on notice that the board intends to clean the property up itself. I realize we hadn't made a decision, I'm gonna use the word that we intend to.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go ahead and advise them that the next step, should the board choose to clean it up via self-help under 19.5.105, then their personal property has to be removed by a date certain. Otherwise, it's subject to being removed and disposed of at the discretion of the board.
All right,
So that's on the record.
all right.
When we go to take a contractor out there, it'd be, you get a deputy.
Yeah, so it would be helpful, I'm all up right at the right time, Denny. Yeah, so we'll make sure that we've got an escort before we go onto the property for an assessment purposes.
Okay,
Let's go.
all right. Mr.
Mr. President, I do have, on the consent agenda, we removed, before voting on the consent agenda, we removed those two items. I want to go back and cover those two items with you, if I may. Those were items 1C and 1D. The first is approval to amend a legal service agreement dated January 4, 2016 between the Board of Supervisors and Palmer and Slay PLLC. Y'all know those guys?
Heard of
What's their reputation? To adjust the hourly rate to $175, that'd be effective October 1. So that'd be the first item. To add back to the regular agenda. The second item to add is the approval of legal services dated May 26, 2016 between the board and Brunini, Grantham, Grower, and Hughes to adjust the attorney hourly rate under that agreement to $350 and the paralegal hourly rate to $140. That would be effective September 1. So those two items I'd ask be added to the agenda, Mr. President. and then we can act on those.
I'll make a motion to add C and D to the agenda.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I know we talked about doing U,
Yes, sir.
but we didn't discuss the other.
Yeah, so I think Brunini has been low by way of an average hourly rate. They've been low for quite some time. They have been providing us with a reduced hourly rate figure. I have a few off the top of my head, Jay, that I could go over with you. For instance, Mr. Milner is at a $475 per hour rate. And the current rate that is being paid, I believe, is $275. And so he's substantially lower than what I would say is market rate for a guy with his experience and his expertise. So that's a pretty good deal regardless. Trey typically is charging $350 or more for individual clients, not county client, but individual clients. So it's still a reduced rate for Trey. Most of the litigators out there are low. Sam Kelly is charging a reduced rate to Rankin County, so it's still a good deal. It's also reflective that that we need our rates to be at least, even though they're still below market rate, they need to be on par with the value of the legal services provided.
Well, I just know what we pay in legal fees annually, and I hate to see them go up astronomically, like I'm afraid they will. We're gonna have to be.
Yes, sir. You have set a legal budget, Jay, and unless we get hounded with lawsuits that we are defending, which can happen, and possibly with lawsuits that we are pursuing, which has happened, unless we get an extraordinarily large increase in that litigation, we're gonna do what we can to try to stay within the budget. You guys were gracious and provided with me and my law firm with an increase of the cap, Jay, if you recall.
Yep.
And so the rate adjustment is to reflect that graciousness and to get my rate. By the way, $125 is what I've been charging since 2008, and so it's probably time to revisit that hourly rate and bring it more in line. I still think $175 an hour is a pretty good deal. I don't know what I'm worth, but at any rate, it feels like it's a pretty good deal.
You well worth $175.
I appreciate that vote of confidence.
The legal, not just fees, but representation and what we've gotten, our products.
Yes, sir.
About how many legal cases do we have ongoing in the middle of this summer?
Yes, sir. There were 9 active litigation cases in the summer. 9. 2 of those are on appeal at the Supreme Court, which means they are in an appellate process, which has a lot of research and briefing, Steve, that goes with those. And so there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that goes into that. That's at a fairly high level of sophistication. We've got a number of drainage-related cases that we're still defending, and those are powerfully dangerous cases, and you guys, we know that.
How successful has our legal team been?
Okay, that's always fun to talk about.
When I say successful, that the county was not, the ruling was not in favor of the defendant,
Yes,
or
sir.
that we didn't settle out with a favorable settlement on the county side.
Yes, sir. I think I am safe and accurate in telling you, Steve, that since 2016, which is when this board chose to use Brunini for litigation support services and other professional legal services, since 2016, we have seen 1 case of all the cases that have been defended. I would say probably 40 to 50 litigation matters total over that time period. That may be low, but that's a conservative estimate. Out of 40 to 50 litigated matters, heavily litigated matters, we've had 1 where we didn't get the result we wanted. And then we took it to the state legislature and got that bad result fixed at the
That's
state
right.
legislature.
That's right, I remember.
So, that's 1 out of 40 or 50, it's batting pretty good, average. We have yet, to lose a dangerous drainage case. I attribute that to the expertise that we have available to us through that firm.
We have our areas, I mean, we have the reservoir.
Yes, sir.
And we have creeks and drainage
Yes.
areas that go from and to and
Yes, sir.
that reservoir. Most of the cases are in and around the drainage
Yes, sir.
or the reservoir or the creeks and
Yes, sir.
stuff. And from my previous experience, work experience, you come with your best material, your best foot forward. A loss, a weakness, we would be in court for, I mean, we would stay in court. It would go from 6 or 7 to 20 or 30 people getting in line
Yes, sir.
saying, oh, we can beat them, we can get $1 million from them, we
Yes,
get
sir.
$3 million from. I really think that this is not a place that we go economy. I think if we look at the monetary balance at the end, what we're coming out with is way ahead than if we went out here and just took some applications on the street.
No question. Nobody wants to pay lawyer bills. Everybody understands that. But it is a cost of government. It is part of what we have to do
It's
here.
a cost
Yeah.
of business in the United States
There's
now.
no question. And citizens have the right, they have the right to seek out redress in the courts. That's constitutional protection. And so we have got to defend ourselves when they exercise that right. I like the fact that we have not just quality representation, but I never have to be concerned about picking up the phone and calling those guys and being put off because they have other work.
Oh, well, and I've seen, and I'm not gonna name the cases, but where you shop hometown, and it's good to be able to do that, but that person is not experienced in the case that you may have before him. So what he does is he goes to another big firm and subs out to them. So you're paying that rate plus his rate. When I haven't seen a time with these guys that whatever case we have, they have an expert in that area.
That's correct. We get, in addition to just litigation support, Steve, we have access to a large amount of experience in vast other areas that are beyond the scope of just litigation representation. So advice, and I'll give you an example. We will have negotiations, contract negotiations on various matters from time to time. Those are not intended to be litigation matters, but the assistance that we get with contract negotiations, the connections, the ability that they have to give advice there can be a valuable investment over the long term of that contract. We are right now working with another local political subdivision on a comprehensive and complex agreement about how the county can join with that entity to try to get some relief in some areas where we desperately need some relief. That's not a litigation matter, but we need that contract expertise at our disposal. My issue with the rate piece is pay attention to your legal budget. Jay, this goes to your point. Pay attention to your legal budget and understand that the rate is something that we just simply have to work within the budget on. There's fewer hours available to do the work, at a higher rate. That should make sense to all of us. And so therefore, unless we have reasons to come back before you, and we may, unless we have reasons to come back before you, the intention is to take whatever rate structure you approve and then to work within the confines of the budget.
Alright, so I made the motion to add and you second it. Any more discussion, Mr. Bishop?
Nope.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right, that was a motion to add. Now, do you want to take them individual? or-
Yes, sir. Well, it doesn't matter. We can do them together if y'all are okay. Jay, you okay doing them together?
Yep.
All right. So it would just be a motion to approve consent item 1C and 1D, Mr. President.
I'll make a motion to approve 1C, 1D on the consent agenda.
Second.
Second, Mr. Gaines, any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, Mr. Hicks,
Good morning.
good morning.
This morning, we're asking for authority to publish a revenue and expense report for our solid waste account for the fiscal year of '22.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Mr. Bishop, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. All right,
And then authority to publish the board's travel for fiscal year of '22.
motion,
Approved.
Second.
motion made by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Additional business to be discussed. Do we have anything?
Yeehaw.
All right, so do I have we need a executive session?
Even if I did, I wouldn't say.
All right. So, do I have a motion to
I make
read?
one
Hey,
recess.
Mike's got something.
Just, it won't take 5 minutes.
All right, oh, come on.
No, I need to.
Oh, executive.
Personnel, Mike?
Litigation.
Litigation.
Oh.
Do I have a motion to go in?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Gaines, I'll second the need to go into executive session.
For legal.
All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Now do I have a motion to go into executive session?
Motion going to executive session
Second.
for litigation.
All in favor say aye.
Aye. Uh-oh.